just beautiful. But you know that, don't you? He's on to himself. He knows he's good. He knows he's good. It's not arrogance. It's just, all good, all good. Yeah. It's good to know that you're good. Today's talk is called The Quickest Route Home. The Quickest Route Home. I learned a lot of years ago that the easiest way out, and when I say out, I mean out of my confusion, out of my grievances, out of my upset, out of that which does not work, is to do the work. The fastest and easiest way to peace is to do my spiritual work, is to commit. I say to God, but it's not a person. It's not I'm committing to God. Oh, and then God will like me. God likes me just fine. When I'm the biggest creep in the world, God likes me just fine. And when I'm really well behaved, God likes me just fine. Just as much as God likes the other biggest creep in the world. You know, God's not judging. God's not perceiving. God is not one that perceives. That's me. That's me in my egoic state. I perceive. I judge. I have opinions. Anybody else? I like to say I don't know much about life, but I know what I like. And I can be very vocal about what I don't like. But on those days, those moments, when I decide I'd rather know God than know anything else. I'd rather know G-O-D. I'd rather know pure love, pure peace, pure joy. And I've had glimpses into that. I've had moments in my life where I have known pure peace, pure love, pure wisdom, pure understanding. And I have not been concerned for the world. I have not worried for the world, and I haven't worried for myself. Those moments when I don't need anything in the world to change for me to be okay. There is an old thought that home is where safety lies. Now, I understand sometimes in our house it wasn't always safe. But the idea of home, I would imagine anybody here who has ever set up a home has imagined this will be my safe place. This will be the place where I'm always okay, where I will never be hurt. But what if it weren't a house or a building that home actually is? What if wherever I am is home? If I'm over here, I'm home. If I'm over here, I'm home. If I'm here, I'm home, and I'm safe. And it's not about how many zeros come after the decimal point or the comma in my bank account. And it's not about whether or not you like me or whether or not I happen to like your personality. It's not about any of that. I am home. I am home. The quickest route home is to do your spiritual work. And I promise there is no sacrifice. There is nothing to lose in doing your spiritual work. I promise this even though I don't always practice it. On a daily basis, I can forget that this is true. I can absolutely forget that I am safe. I am safe because I'm God's beloved child. If I drop dead right now, I'm still fine. If I fall down and hurt myself, I'm still fine. I'm still safe. I'm still good. I am still God's beloved child. If my money all goes away, I'm still safe. If the people in the world walk away for whatever reason, I am still safe. I am still good. I am still wealthy if my consciousness is focused on God. Not God who will give me, but God who has given. God who has given. It's very difficult to really surrender your life and your well-being to the care of God. And I've been here for almost 8 years. And for 8 years, I have assumed, I walk up on this pulpit assuming that everyone in the room wants the same thing I want spiritually. And a couple of times I've realized, oh, not so much. Some people will settle for feeling good. They just want to feel better. They want to maintain their problems, but they want to feel better. See, several years ago, I discovered that I had nothing left. Almost 20 years ago, I just had nothing left. I still had a home, I still had stuff, I still had a body, and I had nothing left. I was bankrupt. All I had was God. All I had was a prayer life. And I discovered that I was happier with that than I had ever been. On my knees, praying daily. Because some mentors of mine said, Shawn, you need to pray on your knees. I wasn't religious. I didn't come from a background where we prayed on our knees. Somebody said, pray on your knees. When I got on my knees and prayed, I was home because I was focused. I was having a direct relationship with God, with my highest thinking. I knew my function when I leaned at my bedside and prayed. I had nothing else to do but commune with God. Lee, we're still getting a little feedback here. But nothing but commune with myself, my highest knowing. And by doing that, as often as I needed to, not just once a day, I did it as often as I felt the need to, I got down and I communed with the God of my understanding. And at that time, it was much more of a personality than it is now. But nonetheless, what I did was I offered myself over. I offered my life, my thinking, and all that I had over, or at least all I thought I had, over to the care of good orderly direction of God, as I understood God. And my life got easier. My thinking got easier because I didn't need anybody else to change. I didn't need my mother to make up to me for a childhood. I didn't need my father. I didn't need my grandparents. I didn't need Adam and Eve to be different. You know, I didn't need politicians to be different. And I didn't even need to be different. I just became different. I became different in that I started to become myself. A lot of my neediness went away. A lot of my sensitivity went away. A lot of, and I don't mean my compassion, I mean my sensitivity, in that you could aggravate me or you could do things to me, or the weather could upset me. I'm talking about my sensitivity to the physical world began to fall away. And I began to know serenity. I began to know a calm joy. I began to know things I didn't seem to know before. I began to know how to communicate with people. I began to be able to ask clearly for what I wanted in the world. And because I was willing to experience it. I didn't ask thinking I can't have it. I didn't ask thinking maybe they won't give it to me. I wasn't concerned whether or not they would give it to me. I knew I could have it, and if they said no, it didn't mean they're telling me I can't have it. They're telling me they're not the ones to give it to me. And so you see, for a long time, I had no enemies. None at all. And in truth, I still have no enemies, unless I decide to perceive that way. There is nothing and no one holding out my good when I do my spiritual work. When I do my spiritual work, I have put aside that which is not real, and I am claiming and experiencing what is. Today, all of us expressed our willingness. I am willing, I am willing, I am willing. And when it came to me, and I thought, okay, I am willing to experience forgiveness, but I want it on both ends. I want to experience forgiveness from, anybody where I'm holding a grievance or a grudge. And I want to experience being released from other people's misperceptions about me, other people's illusions about me. I want both. So that I walk down the street free of grudge, free of debt. Free of debt. You see, debt is a funny thing. Debt isn't just if you owe, it is if you are owed as well. You are still experiencing debt if someone owes you. And that's why we have to set them all free from what we think they owe us, from all the apologies that are owed us, and all the amends that are owed us. I heard someone once say, he owes me an amends, and I thought, well, if that's what you think, you probably owe him one. Because amends is just rethinking. Amends is just to rethink all of it. And as I have said before, turn everything you think upside down and you will be much closer to the truth. Turn what you think about your body upside down and be free of any limited thoughts you have about your body. Turn the world upside down and you will be free of any limited thoughts you have about the world. Turn your money upside down, your finances, and you'll be free of any limited thoughts you have about finances. Turn your relationships upside down. You know, I said last week, turn anyone where you think it has a grudge against you and turn them into your angels. Decide they're your angels. Poking you, saying you're going to stay awake, you're not going back to sleep. Now I have only friends. I'm not going to go to lunch with all of these friends, but nonetheless, I have only friends. Isn't that nice? That you could have only friends. There's only people who love you in spirit. You know, God is spirit. And those that worship God must worship in spirit and in truth. And in knowing the truth, we are set free. We want to go home. Every single one of us here, whether we know it or not, we want to go home. And we have been entertaining ourselves with the physical world. With our problems and our playgrounds. We have been entertaining ourselves. But that's all that the physical life is an entertainment in one form or another. I am convinced that any and all sickness is curable. Any and all ailments is curable. But that's not the point. Trying to get cured is not the point. Trying to make a better physical life is not the point. Awakening to God is the point. Awakening to self and what the self is in relationship to God is the point. You can prove God now in a physical body, in a physical life. You can prove the good that God is and thus the good that you are. You can prove the power that God is and thus the power you are. You can prove the wisdom that God is and thus the wisdom that you are. You can prove it. I have proven it many times. Unfortunately, I've had to prove it many times because I have forgotten as many times as I have remembered. And it's okay. We cannot lose. I did a prosperity, kind of a 5-hour retreat yesterday for a brand new church in the city. And we talked about so many things, and it was wonderful to talk to this group of New Thought students, truth students, who certain members of this group, it was just 16 people in the room, they're not all at the level, quite frankly, that this room is in their thoughts about politics and about, they're still convinced that some of them, that the world out there is the source, and that people who are suffering, social injustice. We had a big discussion about that because that church is big about kind of fixing social injustice. The problem with fixing social injustice is that you're maintaining it. If you want to fix social injustice, become willing for social justice. Become willing for peace. Become willing for joy. Those people you see suffering, become willing that they live abundantly. Don't feel sorry for them. Help them by seeing them correctly. And the best way that you will help them by seeing them correctly is to see yourself correctly. Is to look in that mirror and you say, "Hi, God." In the morning when you get up, you look in the mirror and you say, "Hi, God. It's a good day today for all. And I'm willing to know that. For the people I like and the people I fear." It's not about the people I don't like, it's the people I fear. Because the people I don't like, those are the ones I fear. I fear what they think. Because I'm looking in the mirror saying they're less than God. They're less than good. And so I've got to claim, Christ in me beholds Christ in you. Christ in me, or the highest consciousness in me, beholds the highest consciousness in you. Whatever your words are that will work for you in your prayers. In your journey home. But so you see, your journey home isn't a physical travel. It's a spiritual journey. Your journey home is saying, yes, I would rather know God than anything else. I would rather know I'm good than anything else. And I would rather know you are good than anything else. I would rather see as God sees today. God doesn't see our problems. God doesn't see what's wrong with me. God doesn't see blemishes. God doesn't see my past with any judgment. God sees what God is. God sees love. God sees peace. God sees joy. God sees wisdom. God sees presence. God can only be what God is. And so there is no point to asking God to be what God isn't. And so what I say to you and what I say to me, there's no point in asking ourselves to be what we aren't. There's no point in asking ourselves to be aggrieved today. There's no point in asking ourselves to be unhappy today. There's no point in asking ourselves to be sick today or to be poor today. There's no point in asking ourselves. So therefore, what point is there in discussing poorness? What point is there in discussing what's wrong in the world? If I'm not what's wrong in the world, why discuss it? Why not talk about health? Why not talk about joy? Well, there is no why not. There's every reason to talk about it. There's every reason to, when you pray, to give thanks for the day. I learned that years ago. No matter what has taken place today, no matter how I feel about it, when the light goes out at night, I say, thank you, God, for today. Not specifics, because I don't want to leave anything good out that I wasn't aware of. Thank you, God, for today. And when I wake up in the morning, thank you, God, for today. That's my first thing. And then I go on about my business of liking or disliking the events. You know, because I have, as I said at the beginning, I have opinions. And so, in this world of strangeness, in this world of unfamiliarity, because when you get on the spiritual path, while everything is familiar in spirit, it's unfamiliar to your senses. When you commit to truth, when you commit to living well, when you commit to the care of good, orderly direction, the care of God, everything will be unfamiliar to your ego and to your senses, while it is completely familiar to your spirit. Today, someone is making her commitment to spirit in front of all of us. A couple of months ago, we christened and baptized a child here. And that day, an adult child of God said, I want that. I want to make that commitment in front of my church. I want to say yes in front of everyone and take everyone along for the ride. So, in straightening our vision, Scott's about to sing a song. And I would like us all to hear this song. And it's not about how anyone could see you inappropriately. It's how could you see anyone else or yourself as anything less than the God being that you are. Let's listen to Scott.